Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Pozos, and here with me is Omar Pozos, my co-host and husband. And today, what are we talking about, Omar? I'm putting it on you today.
What are we talking about? Well, I was making fun of you last night because you've you've started doing all of these different things. Like when we're going to bed, you have your castor oil pack and you're doing all of your routines and all this stuff. So I was making a little bit of fun of you. So I think today you wanted to share a little bit of what you're doing when it comes to lifestyle habits to better support people and their hormones. Am I on track?
Yeah. Well,
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's something that's been kind of on my mind a little bit when I was thinking about how, it's like sometimes when you zoom out and you reflect over like a bigger time span, like if you look over the course of a few years, it can kind of shock you when you're like, oh man, like I am doing a pretty good job here when you think of like all the habits that you've acquired that now just are like a part of your routine, a part of your life, and you don't really think that much about them. But like if I zoom out and I look at when I first started to really learn about hormone health and I first kind of was embarking on my own hormone healing journey, as I was learning about all these different like concepts and ideas of like ways to support your hormones, it was kind of overwhelming. And it was like, oh my gosh, like I could never do that. Like I can't live that kind of life. I can't be, doing this and that. And I don't have the time for that. That sounds hard. That sounds like too much energy, all the things. But like if you just focus on one habit at a time, over the course of time, those things truly do become habits. And then you look back one day and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a different person. Look at all the things that I just maintain now.
And I think you kind of nailed it. If you focus on one thing at a time, it becomes a lifestyle as opposed to you trying to overhaul your life in the next week or whatever. And then you're like, I can't keep up with, I don't know, whatever the next influencer out there tells me to do, right? So it's a matter of, what can you incorporate, what works best for you? And like you said, it doesn't have to all happen overnight. It's taking you, where are we now? Like 6-7 years to start really focusing on or doing all these things, would you say? More?
Yeah, well, I would say like 3 years ago is when I really started to learn about hormone health. So it's been probably like 2 or 3 years, really. But the reality... I was
a little off there.
Yeah, just a little off. But, I want to walk our listeners today through essentially what I would consider like 6 very simple lifestyle habits that you can start to work on implementing to essentially better support your hormone health. And so whether you maybe are currently working through a hormone healing journey, maybe you suspect that you might need to work through a hormone healing journey, or maybe you're just like an optimizer and you're just like, I don't want to end up down that road of needing to heal my hormones. I just want to make sure that they're in a good spot now. This is all going to be very applicable to you because these are truly just 6 simple lifestyle habits that you can incorporate anytime in your life, and they're going to support your hormone health.
Can I ask you a question before you dive into all that I think is going to really benefit a lot of the listeners? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of times when people are dealing with hormone issues or symptoms or imbalances or whatever you want to call it, they're always looking for like that magic supplement or that magic pill to help them, fix it. And then they can go back to doing the things that they have been doing and just keep taking that pill over and over when they feel shitty, for the lack of a better word, right? Yeah. Would you say that's accurate? And if so, like when you mentioned some of these things, because I know you mentioned it's a lifestyle, do you feel like it's something that people just have to continue to do over and over? Or is it like tell me your thoughts there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's why we're focusing on habits today, because that's what it comes down to, is just the day-to-day, the way that you live your life is how your hormones are going to be kind of responding. Yeah. And yes, like supplements, of course, there's a time and a place for supplements, especially, if you kind of come into our program and you really want to optimize your hormone health fully, like there will be some different times where we might add in some very specific supplementation, like especially using like really quality medical grade supplementation, not just like the random supplements that like whatever influencer is pushing on Amazon that day. But like truly quality supplementation absolutely can be very beneficial. But just turning to supplements and turning there first isn't going to get you very far if you're not focusing on the lifestyle. That's why our coaching philosophy really does lead lifestyle first. We rarely ever just like put somebody on a supplement right away, because that's just going to be essentially like spending money for something that probably is going to kind of go right down the drain until we lay that foundation of starting to support your hormones more naturally with the way that you're living your life and treating your body, like you said. So these 6 habits I'm going to walk through are really just like, in my opinion, some of the most kind of simplest habits that you can start to work on. And you don't need to work on all 6 at once. And I'm going to give ton of examples of what it can look like to have these 6 habits in place, so that you can kind of like pick through this list and think about what sounds realistic for you to possibly start implementing, because you do not need to do everything on this list. I can tell you I do like 50% of the things in this list. Some of the things kind of like ebb and flow throughout my life based on like the season that I'm in. Some of these things I do very often. Some of these things I do kind of no matter what. Some things like I might do for a period of time, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm going to kind of switch to a different way of living out this habit. So let's kind of dive in here, roll on through these. So number 1, the first habit to support your hormone health that you can just kind of start to work on within your lifestyle is developing a proper morning routine. So what do I mean by that? A few examples of how to develop a morning routine that's really going to benefit your hormone health are to make sure that when you first wake up, you're getting some sun exposure into your eyes. Really, really important for your circadian rhythm first thing in the morning. I also encourage you to go for a walk first thing in the morning. If you can include that in your morning routine, extremely beneficial for hormone health. Some other things that you can do, some things that I do here and there, are to do essentially like an ice roll on your face can be really helpful, as well as gua sha can be really, really helpful, great for detoxification.
How often do you do that? The ice roll and the gua sha? What even is gua sha?
Gua sha is the thing that you see me do sometimes, where it's like you're like rolling it against your face and
like the massage thing, like the stone thingy that you do?
See, like, like the little like jade stone that I have? That's gua sha.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, the roller that like I keep in the freezer, that's ice rolling.
Got it.
But both can really help with kind of opening up the lymphatic drainage pathways, essentially.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
I always thought you were just a weirdo, but it makes sense.
yeah, like you'll see a lot of girls do like the ice roller when they're like hungover, because it feels good to have the ice on your face.
I've done that when I'm hungover.
But it really does benefit you when you think about like the way that it works. When you're hungover, you're going to look puffier in your face because you have a lot of that like lymph fluid that's stuck there. You're not detoxing and draining very well. Like when your body's focused on detoxing alcohol because it's a poison, essentially, it's not going to be doing the rest of the detoxification that it should be doing normally. So you're going to look puffier. So doing that can help move that through.
Got it.
However, doing that on just like a normal daily, weekly, as often as you want to kind of basis can be really beneficial for your hormone health as well, because you're helping your whole body detox, which is super, super important.
Just moving everything through.
Exactly. Some other things that you can add to your morning routine that can be very, very beneficial are some cold therapy. So like a cold plunge or cold showers is more accessible for a lot of people.
How many minutes do you do in the cold plunge, Vanessa?
Depends on the temperature, but
you can brag. I mean, she's a weirdo.
I do like 10 minutes normally.
At what temperature?
Like 38, 39.
You're a psycho.
I don't know why. My body doesn't mind being in there for a long time, and that's just kind of where I feel my best.
I think I've taken pictures of you in the plunge, like reading, and I'm like, are you alive right now? Like people are like, what is wrong with her? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
but no, I really like cold plunging. It's been something I've really enjoyed kind of adding into our routines, and we do that a few times a week. So that's definitely something that you can insert into a morning routine, because it very much is helpful for waking you up and really helping you bring some energy into your mornings if that's something that you struggle with, for sure. A big one is a nutrient-dense breakfast. So making sure that you are giving your body plenty of vitamins and minerals within your breakfast. A easy way to do that is just to have a smoothie in the morning, because you can pile in a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits, like sneak a lot of things in there to really start your morning off, start your day off with a lot of really, really good nutrients for your body. Another thing that I encourage pretty much everybody, like I would really encourage you to aim for this as part of your morning routine, because it's so simple and accessible, but can make a huge difference. It's drinking a lot of water when you wake up, and including electrolytes, and or just you can essentially make your own like electrolyte drink by just doing water, some quality sea salt, and like a squeeze of lemon. Can be really beneficial. Personally, when it comes to electrolytes, we like to use LMNT. It's honestly just
if they want to sponsor us, please do.
Yeah, we're not sponsored. We don't have any kind of like discount code to give you. I'm sure we could get one. We just don't really care to do that stuff. But just genuinely, it's something that we really enjoy. So if you need a brand recommendation, that would be my go-to for electrolytes.
And those are probably the better tasting ones that I've ever had. So
yeah, no, they're great. Really, really enjoy it. And then on that list, like the last one I would include is no or minimal caffeine within 90 minutes of waking up. This one can be painful for people at first if they're used to that, if they're like, I just wake up and have my coffee right away. But if you can work your way to that over the course of time, I promise you, this is an example of something where it's like, I used to be that person where like, as soon as I crawled out of bed, like instinct was to go straight to the coffee maker. That was just like how I lived my life. Nowadays, I often forget to have coffee, and it might be like a little while after breakfast and I'm like, I haven't had any coffee yet today, and like that sounds pretty good, let me make some. And that's kind of what we want to get to when it comes to supporting our hormone health, is to not need it, but to be able to have it and not have it negatively affect you. So those are some examples of how you can develop a proper morning routine that supports your hormone health. So I would encourage you to think about what are some things within that list that maybe you could start to work on. Maybe just pick one and kind of go from there.